Hey guys, welcome to Travel Fields. Do you ever struggle with making titles like I do? Let's look at 5 easy ways to make really nice looking titles. Let's do it. Making really nice titles can be one of the hardest things to do sometimes. I'm not really a designer, that's not one of my best skills, so I find it really hard to do really nice titles sometimes, and it takes a lot of time for me to actually get them done, and it kind of stresses me out because I'm not really that good at it. And you can't have the exact same kind of titles in every single film, because sometimes this type of title works for this film and then it doesn't really work for another film. That look just doesn't fit whatever is going on in that video. But there are some guidelines that we can keep in mind that will really help us in the process of making titles. I think the number one thing that you can do is to just keep it simple. Don't try to do anything really crazy or really wild. Keep it really simple. You can try something creative, but do it in a really subtle, simple way. I think simple always works best for titles. For example, a really cool cinematic title can be just a really nice font made really small on a black background. That's it. That can be really simple, but it can still really work because it's simple and you're not trying too hard. It's not over the top and distracting. It's just nice and simple and cinematic. So keep things simple when you're designing your titles. I think that's the number one thing you can do. Then you want to look at the theme of your video. What kind of video is it? Is it a narrative short? Is it a really dramatic thing? Is it more of a comedy? And choose your font according to that. Make the titles according to whatever's going on in your video. For example, Wes Anderson has a really specific style and he chooses fonts and titles that really work with his style. They're not super serious and super dramatic. They're kind of almost goofy at times because that's just the style of his films. Whereas if it's a action movie or summer blockbuster, you want more dramatic titling, a little bit more fancy probably. So think about the theme of your video and try to work titles that work with that theme. And lastly, I would say just look at other people's titles. If you can't figure out what kind of titles I should make for this film, look at some other people's films. Look at some Hollywood films. They usually have some of the most amazing titles that you can find just because they spend so much time actually designing those. But even just look at your favorite filmmakers, look at what kind of titles they're doing, and just take some ideas from that. Don't necessarily copy them outright, but take some ideas from that and make your own style titles. So our guidelines are keep it simple, think about the theme of your video, and check out some other people's titles. And before we get into the actual making of the titles, I want to say a huge thank you to the amazing people at Squarespace for sponsoring this episode. I couldn't be happier to have Squarespace on board with Travel Fields. They just make such a good product, amazing websites, and I've never had such an easy time making a really nice looking, professional looking site. It's nice and easy. You don't need to do any updates or patches or anything like that. It's all done for you. Not to mention their amazing customer service. If you have any questions, they're more than happy to help you out with those. And like I said last time, the easiest way to make yourself look more professional and start building your business is to have a really nice looking website. It's a great way to showcase your work and it just adds so much credibility to your business. So whether you need a domain, a website, or an online store, start your free trial today at squarespace.com and use the offer code TRAVELFIELDS to get 10% off your first purchase. The link is down in the description. Guys, if you don't already have a website, make sure to check out Squarespace. So now let's look at 5 different ways to make cool titles in a really simple and easy way. We're gonna be looking at Premiere and After Effects, but some of these things can be done in other programs also. I especially like After Effects for titles. There's just so much you can do. I really think it's the best program to make the best titles if you really wanna step up your game. First, we're gonna look at this fade from black title. It's kind of coming out of the shadows. It's a little bit fancier than just having it fade in. And a lot of times you need your titles to come in a natural way, and this is kind of a cool way to do that. And it's actually really simple, and you can do it in both Premiere and After Effects in pretty much the exact same way. So first off, you just need to make your title, zoom in on it because we need to do some masking around the titles really quickly. It's gonna make it a little bit easier if you zoom in. Go to opacity, then click the pen tool, and then we're just gonna draw a mask around the title. It doesn't have to be perfect, you're just kind of going in and out around the title, and you can change this up later too if you find that you don't really like it. Make sure to feather it out, and then you just use mask expansion to fade it in. You can actually control how much of the title is being shown. So you can make it fade in from the black, starting from the middle and just coming in. So just add a keyframe where you can't see the title, and then add another keyframe once you have enough of the title showing, or all the way, depending if you want some of that shadowing around the text. Then you can also add a little bit more to this text by adding a little bit of a scale, just a little bit, don't go too crazy with it. Kind of makes it look like it's emerging from the darkness. A really cool look, I think. I've seen other people do this too, and I think it's a really cool way to do some titles. It's really simple and really easy. Then we have what I call the cycle through fonts title, and you guys have actually seen this in a couple of different videos, like in the Travel Feels feedback intros, where the titles kind of go through a few different fonts and then end up with a final font. It kind of looks like it's building the titles and then you end up with the final font. I think it's a really cool look. It's not gonna fit every single video, but it's a really simple way to make cool titles animate in an exciting way. So first off, you start off with the font, skip a couple frames, 2 or 4, somewhere around there frames. I'm going with 2 frames here. Make a cut and then make sure to duplicate that title. You don't want to be editing the same title. What I'm doing here is just holding down Option and then just moving it, and that creates a duplicate of that exact same title, but just a different file. Then we go in and we just choose a different font and make sure it's quite a bit different from that last one. You want there to be a change in the look. Then you basically just repeat this a few times, maybe 3 or 5 times, and then you end off with the font that you want to be showing at the end. You can play around with things like kerning and the size of the titles so they match better, or that there's a different look to each of the titles. But really, you're just playing around, trying different titles, and it's actually really easy to make these. Quick and easy, boom, you got your titles that kind of just build out of nothing. A really cool look. I like this one. Next, you can actually track the titles to your footage, and there's a couple different ways of doing this, and I'm gonna do all these in After Effects because I really think that the tracker is really good in there. And the easiest way to do this is to just use the motion tracker. You're just gonna choose a contrasty detail that the tracker can track that movement, and then you're just gonna apply that information to a null object and then just parent your title to that null object. A null object is just kind of like a placeholder. It's just holding that information. It's not visible in any way in your videos, so you can just use the null object to hold that information and then parent the title to that null object. Really quick, really easy, but it's not always gonna be the best. Another way, which I think is the best way, is to actually do a 3D track, and it's in the same area. You just track camera. Once it's done analyzing, you just choose some points, make a camera, and then you can use those points to actually put titles in that exact spot. So for example, here in this driving clip, I want to put a title kind of in the middle over the road. So I'm going to use this null object here to get the position information. Then I'm just going to command copy that position information and then paste it into the title. And then it's going to stick exactly where that position was. Then I'm just going to move it around a little bit so it looks even better. So it's a pretty easy way. It does take some time and you do have to do it in After Effects, but it is a really cool effect and a cool way to get some titles into your films. A really simple way to get some movement or a little bit of animation to your titles is by changing the scale and kerning. Unfortunately, you can't animate kerning in Premiere Pro, which is basically just the distance between letters in that title. But you can do this really easily in After Effects. Just go to Animate and choose Tracking. Then you're just gonna put some keyframes, make it nice and subtle, and then do the same with scale. And you have this nice little zooming effect where the letters are kind of separating. A lot of different Hollywood movies use this effect. It just works. It's nice and simple, not too flashy. Remember, rule number 1, keep it simple. It just works. Lastly, a really cool way to animate your titles is to actually have this draw on effect. And again, we're gonna do this in After Effects, and basically you're just gonna use the stroke effect. Make sure all masks is chosen, then just draw on lines so they cover your letters. You can adjust the size of the brush to make sure the whole letter is being covered by the line. Keep adding a new mask for the lines of each letter, and then you just add keyframes for the end so the letters are drawn on. It's really simple. Make sure Reveal Original Image is chosen, and there you go, a really nice way to just kind of write on your titles. And you can really play around with this look a little bit more. I like to use the plugin Ease and Wiz to just kind of really make it nice and smooth smooth. You can have it ease in at the beginning and ease in at the end, or you can just have it ease in at the end so it gets written on really quickly but the end is nice and smooth. And then you can also add motion blur to this. The traditional way of adding the motion blur won't work, so you need to add force motion blur. It's really easy, it's just an effect you just drag and drop onto the title, and there you go, you have motion blur. It makes it look a little bit more realistic and a lot nicer in my opinion. Another effect that you can play around with is having each of the letters drawn at the same time instead of sequentially. All you have to do is click the stroke sequentially and there you go. So there we go, 5 nice easy ways to make really nice looking titles. Next time you're thinking about your titles and you're kind of struggling, check out this video and use some of these ideas in your videos. If you have any really cool ways to do titles, make sure to comment them down below. Let's share our ideas so we can all get better at making really cool titles. It can be really hard sometimes to make those nice titles, but with the framework of keeping it simple, think about the theme and check out some other people's titles, and then using some of these examples that I gave you, I know you guys are gonna be able to make some really cool titles. All right, that's it for me today, guys. I'm gonna go back to feeding the baby and doing dad things. Guys, enjoy the filmmaking process and go get some of those travel feels.